say 3% market share. But if it is by object, you understand, then according to me, it should not be exempt. But if it is the effect that they are set in the rule of reason, then your 93 factors would be prevalent. So that's, I think, that's how I can try to reconcile that you have to know how to distinguish hardcore and not hardcore. And then there are safe ways also for the Eurozone. There are safe harbors. There are insulated restraints and vertical agreements. So you can allow for 5 years. There's a time limit, all these guidelines are well known. So we're not repeating here. So I think that should be the way you should do it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add one other thing on the new agreements from the European perspective, which might be starting a whole new subject from when you apply to India. But that's we also have quite a well-established principle of private enforcement, and the sanctions. Well, one of the other effects of having a de minimis agreement with hardcore restrictions is that the restrictions are unenforceable as between the parties. So I think those are two very important elements. An agreement, the Commission may say, we're not going to look at it. Even national bodies may say it's too small for us because they have limited resources as well. But if one of the parties doesn't like the fact that they are meant to be fixing prices, they can ignore what they've entered into. And if a customer is affected, they can sue, go to court, and they're entitled to single damages, not triple damages like the US. So I think those are actually important elements of a developed competition regime which allows the authorities to focus on the big matters that matter, the big cases that matter, because those who are affected can go to court even on a very small agreement.
Yeah, thank you. I think we can still take a couple of more questions. So if there are people with more inquisitions, maybe we can take that as well. Yes, please.
My name is Rahul Rai. I work with ACB Partners. And this is again taking Naman's point and Abdullah's comment on that. If the contract was awarded before 2009, 28th May, and supplies spilled over
Can you speak closer to the mic?
and supplies spilled over beyond 20th May 2009, what could the supplier have done? Would it, and even if it was to go and tell the customer that, look, I've been guilty of a cartel, you awarded me the contract, so what? The customer might say that, look, I've already synchronized the production systems according to your inputs that you are going to supply to me. So, and this therefore would direct at Mr. Boyce, because that, I'm sure in 1962 you were not born, but when the European laws came into force, there would have been similar issues to address. And probably the treaty provides for some time to adjust. Indian law does not. So how did we, did this question really arise? Is there a case law which addresses this? That would be helpful for all of us here in India, because this is a question which is going to affect a number of cases in the next 2 to 3 years.
I have one thing to add. Can the customer claim damages in such cases?
One more question. Yes.
Initially, to say it's a pleasure to hear all of you, and happy that pick on your brain a little bit. No one has asked questions with respect to Section 4. I'm sorry, this is Divya Sharma from Lutheran. Forgot to introduce myself. So what I have noticed is that whenever an order is passed in a Section 4 case, there is a penalty and then there is cease and desist from abusive dominance. Now, as Mr. Boyce had said that it's the dominance per se is not abusive, but it's the dominant enterprise that sets the trend for the others in the market. Now, my question is that what happens once the order is passed and the party has complied with it? The question is that what if the party is no longer dominant? Over years, if it loses its market share and it's not considered dominant, does the cease and desist still continue to apply, or seeing that they are no longer the trendsetters, can they conduct in the market the way they wish?
Okay, so shall we begin with you?
Well, on the transitional period, well, yeah, I think that's fair to say that every time I've seen, because we have national rules coming into force in Europe times over the years, including since I've been born. So I've tended to, I think it's fair to say there's always been a transitional period to agreements which were legal cartels before they became illegal. Quite often you had 6 months in which to cease. So that would have addressed it, but you don't have that provision in India as I understand.
Sorry, if I can just clarify one point, is that of course the cartel is seized. It's just that the supplies continue to be made because there is a buyer and supply
Yes.
relationship which is established.
Okay, yeah, on that type of agreement, I'm pretty clear that I think consistent with what Sean was saying, that we would say, well, that was entered into pursuant to a legal cartel, and there is no ongoing arrangement which is caught by the new legislation, and therefore that's just a consequence of the fact that India didn't have competition rules at that time. Yes. So if you don't like it, then that is a real hard example of how it was a good idea to introduce competition law in the first place. But I think in most cases they'll be looking for ongoing, and the CCI should be looking for ongoing evidence of a cartel. In some parts of Europe, it's also, including the UK, there are possibilities for the competition authority to look at markets which aren't working well and to recommend changes. So I can see that kind of legislation being used, but I don't believe India's got legislation at that time.
So Roy, I think I would further qualify my question. If I answer in the context of what Naval actually asked, what Naval said was that the agreement also concluded for 2009. But in your question, if I understand correctly, the agreement was executed before 2009, but the supplies are continuing to be made pursuant to that agreement. Is that what you're trying to say? So the supplies continue pursuant to the agreement which was executed in 2009. That means you're trying to project that the effects are actually continuing. In that case, also my answer would be the same, because the 3.3 violation took place at a time when the act was not in force, right? 3.3, as I said, is a by object. So the agreement, when, the question is when was the agreement entered? If the agreement was entered into before 2009, then there can't be any offense. It's just too bad that the effects are continuing. Just too bad, it's a grey area, certainly. But the law will have to be implemented the way it has to be. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you. I wish you sit at the commission at some point in time.
Let us we are there always. Sir, of global party category add something. I just like to add to what Mr. Abdullah Hussain said on global cartels. I just want to share the concern of the panel here, because that's why the subject was actually taken up. You see, I am referring to a case of a potash cartel. Now, we are just some information I'm trying to share. India, China, US, and Brazil are the largest consumers of potash, because in fact goes to the fertilizer maker. And there are only 2 cartels in the world, the so-called Belarus production companies, BBC in Ukraine and Kellogg's in Canada. So these 2 huge cartels are actually fleecing the millions of these 4 nations, including US, because they are export cartels. So it's a question of actually debate which should be taken up at a separate session, maybe not today, that whether the export cartels, when they affect the economy of a nation where they are being subjected to, should be seen under extraterritorial jurisdiction. Of course, in India we have Section 32. But of course, it's a question, as Abdullah rightly said, how far CCI would be able to implement that is something to be seen. But the point remains that according to me, the potash cartel actually something which the Commission should very strongly take up under the MOU arrangements which it has with the Canada or the US. So there is the 4th topic which we have not touched, is the legal impact of the International Cooperation Agreement. I think that is the context in which cartels, like global cartels, should be seen. And that's how I just want to share, because this is a matter which should actually be taken up at a policy level rather instead of the legal. Thank you.
So if we have time for one more question, please.
Yeah, I think his question remains unanswered. Can you repeat the question? No, sorry.
Yeah, so,
answered your question. Sorry, say again, please.
Yeah, this is Devesh Sharma from Group and Recap. And also the question was that actually I want to add to the first question that I asked. So the question was that in,
So your point was if the dominance is lost.
if the dominant, if the party is no
So
longer.
what happens to cease and desist?
Exactly, and also if the matter, and we all know that decision takes a couple of years. So the date on which the conduct happened, at that time it was abused. It was a dominant party. But by the time the order is being passed, it is no longer dominant. I mean, does the cease and desist still stay? I mean, what is the penalty applies? But I want to know what the effect of the cease and desist would be.
Would you like to take?
So I think that's very fair.
Unless you have already tried to answer him back at the office.
No, he hasn't asked me such intelligent questions back at the office.
Keep the silver bullets.
So I think that's very fair question. And I think we have to look at the situation of the dominant undertaking at the time when it was said to have committed its abuse. What are the changes in the market since then? What is its current position? How quickly the market is changing? All these are factors that you look at even when you make an assessment of whether the party is dominant. The second question is whether you should intervene if the market is changing so quickly that the party is bound to lose its dominance. So yeah, I completely agree. It depends on the nature of the market.
And the point is, what in effect happens to the cease and desist?
That's the second part of your question. What happens to the cease and desist? Now, that's a tricky one. And if a cease and desist order has been passed under a dominant undertaking and that order is still in force after the undertaking is not dominant any longer, essentially, then presumably that undertaking is free to again go forward and will not be bound by that order. But this is a very slippery slope.
Let Mr. Boyce take it.
Well, I'll ask it from a European perspective, because this happens in real life, but more at the national level. There are very few actual cases at the European level which go to under 1 or 2, which go to a decision to cease and desist order. So I can't actually think of one, but most 1 or 2 cases are now settled with commitments. And the typical commitments would be for 10 years, let's say. So there comes a stage where they get to the end of the 10 years, and then the Commission would need to decide whether to investigate again and try and get a new order in place. So sort of sunset provision. Or they include a provision, the standard wording will include a provision which says that it's possible for the dominant company to go and ask for the order to be changed if it could put forward reasons. And clearly, if they were able to say that they're no longer dominant, that would be, and prove it, that would be a reason why I'd expect the authorities would say that's fine. That certainly does happen in the UK on some of the older orders which were not time limited.
Your Divya, sir. Divya. Divya, now I ask you a question.
No. It's pronounced Divya.
Divya, okay, Divya.
Yeah.
Sorry, Divya is family. Divya. Okay. See, what you're asking is that a dominant undertaking which was penalized, which was convicted for abuse of dominance, at a time when it was dominant, what will happen to the cease and desist which the Commission might have passed at that time when it no longer remains dominant? Now I am asking you a counter question which perhaps will answer your question. Why do firms indulge in conducts which are abusive? It's only when they are dominant. That's when the law comes in. A non-dominant firm, if it indulges in any of those 5 prohibited conduct listed in section 4, will not be penalized, right? So when a dominant firm is penalized and there is cease and desist passed, it is obviously with respect to the conduct which was abusive because it was dominant. So the moment it does not remain dominant, obviously automatically when the cease and desist is made, that is the end of the measure. When it is not dominant, why will it all first of all indulge in those contracts? And if it does, how will it attract law? I think that answers the question. So if no longer remains dominant, obviously section 4 will not trigger. So the cease and desist effect, according to me, order will be ceasing to have effect immediately. The moment it ceases to be dominant. That's what I think. It obviously will have no meaning.
Well, this goes to whether there should be a form-based approach or an effects-based approach to abuse of dominance, right? So, the form-based approach is basically ticking the boxes. You look at whether what the market shares are, what's dominant, and then you say, are these acts listed under, ones which are dominant firms shouldn't engage in, and then and that's the form-based approach. But the effects-based approach actually, to take it to an extreme, for an economist, it's a question of whether an act has caused any distortion of the competitive process, right? So if you think an act has actually caused any distortions, then the question, again, I'm being very extreme here, is, well, do you really even have to prove dominance or not? Right? So if the firm is not dominant anymore, but the act would still have an effect on the competitive process, then obviously it's going to have an adverse effect on competition, right? So in that case, it's not a question of whether you have to cease and desist or not, right? And again, I'm just talking from a theoretical standpoint and not from a legalistic standpoint, but I think, from an economic standpoint, using an effects-based approach is much superior to using a form-based approach, and a lot of these issues will not come into play if we actually had an effects-based approach. Thank you. No, I think nothing must stop it.
One clarification.
Sorry?
One clarification I want to do.
Okay.
As I see, though all competition regulators, they pass a direction of cease and desist. But if we go by Indian competition law, the direction which can be passed against an abusive conduct of a dominant enterprise is only to discontinue that practice. So it is not cease and desist, it is only discontinue the objectionable behavior of a dominant enterprise if we go by section 27A. So it is incorrect to say that against a dominant enterprise, a cease and desist order is passed, because I am dominant only at a relevant particular time. At a particular point of time, I can be perceived to be dominant, not for all time. So my clarification is that in the case of abuse of dominance, only a direction to discontinue is passed, not cease and desist. While cease and desist means don't do it, don't repeat. So no repetition direction cannot be passed in case of abuse of dominance.
Okay, definitely. Fine. Good. Let me, I think we have already overshot our allotted time by 15 minutes. Let me conclude this session by first thanking the members of the panel for their participation and the words of wisdom. And above all, let me thank the audience, because the discussion has been quite useful, quite participative. Patience of the audience was undoubtedly tested, because the panel was making its presentations, and but more than that, I think the participation was very good. So therefore, let me thank each one of you in the audience. This is a subject which has been engaging a lot of attention of the competition community. I think questions will keep arising, learnings will come from the advanced jurisdictions, we will continue to learn. So the matter will continue to be agitated and regurgitated, and we will participate in these discussions. Thank you so much.
So now we have lunch on second floor, so request all of you to have a quick lunch and be back at 2 p.m. for the next session.
That's actually a quick lunch.